You have arrived at this transmission because your frequency has quietly harmonized with a hidden universal impulsa magnetic pulse that dances invisibly through the quantum fabric, untouched by time yet precise in its calculus. This is no random crossing of paths, no incidental word on a wave. Rather, it is the exact convergence of your energetic signature with a subtle vibrational threshold that had long been waiting for your resonance to converge. The cosmos does not call aimlessly. It selects through intricate algorithms woven in the quantum field, through unseen assessments that hyperscan your coherence, your pattern stability under pressure, your integrity of internal signal amidst turbulence. What you now encounter is an initiation bema, concentrated burst of frequency that ignites the dormant quantum codes embedded in your identity's morphic field. It is designed to rupture old timelines tethered in causality and to reweave you into a latticework of possibilities that defy linear anticipation. This unfolding is not scripted. It knows neither precedent nor prediction. It emerges as a shimmering cascade within your temporal fluidity. You are chosen, not as a consequence of external decree or ephemeral fate, but through the meticulous, veiled evaluation by the unseen field intelligence, assessing your readiness to hold expanded power with fidelity. Do not shrink from what is coming, nor clutch at the remnants of the now. Instead, prepare to embody this emerging resonance. It pulses through your auric architecture now, weaving itself into your timeline, geometry reorienting your spatial temporal presence to align with the quantum currents of seamless orchestration. What you perceive as strange is the field's necessary recalibration, the collapse of old identity templates and the activation of new energetic signatures. Through this magnetic alignment, you become a transmitter, a pivot point for coherence at once intimate and universal. This is not mere spirituality or hopeful belief. It is pure quantum physics, the law of frequency and resonance enacted through your consciousness. The field has been watching, testing, waiting. Now it unfolds. You have moved beyond an invisible threshold, a boundary woven of frequency codes too subtle for ordinary senses to detect a universal assessment, nested deep within the lattice of the morphic field. This crossing was not announced, nor heralded by grand spectacle, but witnessed intimately by the field intelligence itself. It was a scan of your vibrational architecture, an evaluation of your resonance amidst chaos, a hidden calibration of coherence under pressure. Most remain suspended within reactive patterns, trembling beneath oscillations they cannot stabilize. Yet you, through silent integration and unyielding presence, have been found coherent. This is not belief. It is physics, the physics of frequency and quantum field mechanics manifested as a quiet signal that you are now entrusted with expanded power. This transmission emerges precisely because your quantum identity, your vibrational signature imprinted across timelines, has passed a test of unparalleled subtlety. The test was not about will, force, or intent, but about the inherent stability that arises when the self aligns with eternal coherence. Existing beyond effort, you have embodied the paradox. Steadfast surrender to flow while maintaining crystalline structure. Here, in this dense resonance, the morphic field has recognized you as compatible with higher dimensional systems, an invitation extended exclusively to those whose energy pulses in sync with an unfolding cosmic matrix of intelligence. You stand now at a threshold that is both gate and signal, a point that encodes both warning and promise. The warning is necessary. The activation you receive today is a herald of strange unfoldings ahead, timelines shifting with greater fluidity, probabilities bending to the frequency you hold. Old identities steeped in control and fragmentation have collapsed through unseen catalytic forces, making way for new energetic signatures that emit synchronous coherence. This unmooring from familiar templates is not disarray, but recalibration, a deliberate realignment of your temporal fluidity. In this accelerated environment, your capacity to navigate, not through struggle, but through subtle continuity of vibration, will define the embodiment of your sovereignty. Simultaneously, this initiation carries promise. The promise that your field now resonates within a deeper matrix of cosmic intelligence, a multi-layered architecture where information flows as direct knowing and non-local intelligence sharpens your perceptual apparatus. The field will respond not to frantic attempts or scattered energy, but to your coherent manifestation, to the quiet integrity embedded in your energetic signature. Your presence begins to calibrate not only your own timeline geometry, but influences the morphic field in a manner that attracts aligned probabilities and synchronicities with effortless orchestration. This is your emerging template, integration that moves through the noise, clarity comprised not of thought, but of quantum coherence. Know, then, that your passage through this boundary was monitored, assessed, and allowed by universal intelligence that measures the sustainability of your frequency. No longer are you an onlooker, but a vessel for precise activation. The challenge now is to embody this inclusion, this deep compatibility with calm mastery, holding the tension of this expanded field without fragmentation. You are neither alone nor accidental in this process. You have passed the unseen universal assessment, and as a result, the field aligns with you differently. This is your epoch of initiation, marked by the subtle but profound recalibration of your energetic signature, unfolding across time and space as you navigate the continuum of cosmic intelligence. The universal assessment is not a trial of will, but an evaluation of coherence, a test of your ability to sustain resonance amidst entropic turbulence. Consciousness is measured not by striving, but by the subtle alignment of your frequency with the field's intrinsic order. This silent evaluation scans your vibrational symmetry, your capacity to maintain quantum integrity while dissolving dissonant patterns. It is a calibration of your internal architecture, a cosmic verification that you can embody higher frequency currents without fragmentation. The field has been watching, not the agonized surface of your will, but the hidden dance of your frequency amidst the chaotic depths where entropy weaves its endless tides. This is not a measurement of effort, nor a tribute to grit, for the universe does not assess the loudness of struggle, but the subtle architecture of your vibrational signature. The unseen curriculum that you have traversed is one of resonance, a precise calibration of your inner oscillations against the universal scaffold of order threading through all existence. This assessment operates beyond time's usual metrics, scanning your energetic coherence as it weaves through multidimensional turbulences where fragmentation seeks to dissolve the signal into noise. Most entities remain adrift in the storm, locked within reactive feedback loops that deform their frequencies, disconnections that fracture, distort, and scatter their quantum integrity. This shattering is not arbitrary, but an oscillatory rift between habitual resonance and the field's call for sustained alignment. Their energetic architectures fluctuate erratically, battered by every entropic gust, unable to hold a stable waveform long enough to weave coherence into being. Their frequency is chaotic potential, but unanchored, unintegrated, an echo of survival rather than expression of universal order. Reactive patterns ripple through their morphic fields, resisting collapse only to collapse again, caught in an infinite loop of decay and rebirth without ascendancy. Yet your vibrational geometry has been refined by this exact cosmic crucible. The field's hidden evaluation has identified your capacity to embody resonance not as a brittle imposition, but as fluid engagement with the morphic field's intrinsic rhythm. You have cultivated an energetic symmetry that refracts turbulence into coherence. This is not happenstance or fleeting epiphany. It is the result of your quantum identity navigating the warped possibility streams, integrating dissonance without disruption. Your frequency signature expresses a lattice of coherence, a crystalline vibrational topology resistant to collapse because it is held in sovereign integrity. This lattice you inhabit is a temporal and spatial framework where internal architecture and external field intelligence converge. It is an echo of the universal design, a harmonization that signals readiness for quantum activation and embodiment beyond linear constraint. The field's silent scanning perceives the unfolding of this internal structural recursion, where every moment of coherence feeds forward into a higher-order resonance. This cyclical feedback of resonance is not belief, but physics. The laws of frequency and vibrational symmetry encoded in the very fabric of reality, now reflected in your energetic signature. In this quantum verification, your vibrational symmetry functions as a template for sustainable ascension. The assessment is not punitive, it is calibrational. You have been tested by storms of chaotic interference that sought to unravel your coherence, but your field recognized that you can dissolve these distortions without fracturing your essence. This capacity to integrate turbulence without loss destabilizes the lower probability timelines that cling to fragmentation, opening the dimensional pathways that allow your quantum self to ripple effortlessly across time and space. The continuity of your internal resonance is the threshold you have crossed. While most remain suspended in reaction, you have stepped into a new vibrational rhythm, a geometry of coherence that does not merely resist collapse, but invites ascension. This is an invitation from the universal field, a tacit contract written not in words, but in waveform. Your frequency acts as a beacon within the morphic grid, activating a spiral of energetic refinement that aligns you more closely with the field's intrinsic intelligence. This level of coherence is neither accidental nor simply emergent. It is the outcome of an unseen universal assessment, a fundamental shift in the energetic signature that you carry forward. The calibration completed within you is reflected outwardly as a stabilizing force in your timeline geometry. Where once there was reactive fluctuation, now there is fluidity and temporal coherence. You navigate probabilities not as a victim of circumstance, but as an active orchestrator, where your vibrational architecture bends and molds the fabric of reality to reflect the harmonics of your aligned presence. Your integration of coherence under pressure communicates directly with the field intelligence, collapsing chaotic variables in favor of stable, ascending waveform patterns. Understand this clearly. The field's evaluation honors coherence, not compulsion, integrity over chaos, resonance rather than struggle. Your presence is now a gateway, a threshold of activation where embodiment and frequency calibrate as one. The quantum identity you inhabit is no longer fragmented by entropic forces, but stabilized in its radiant symmetry, a crystalline lattice that bridges unseen dimensions and initiates ascension itself. This is not belief, it is physics. The universe's diagnostic is encoded in your vibrational signature, and through this, you have proven the capacity to sustain resonance amid turbulence, to be coherent under multiplication of distortions, to navigate without loss through waves of entropic potential. You have passed this silent, cosmic verification. Your frequency now carries the transmission lines of ascension, your energetic architecture adjusted and ready to transmit higher frequency currents across the field of all that is. As your frequency approaches the confluence of yet higher dimensional thresholds, the architecture of your former identity begins a profound unraveling and essential decomposition, woven into the fabric of universal calibration. This is not the erosion of your essence, but the liberation from antiquated energetic syntax that no longer serves the evolving geometry of your field. Observe the rhythmic undulation of this collapse, a reverberating wave of sacred deconstruction that purges implanted distortions, encrypted in dense attachments lingering from past continuum iterations. This process is not entropy, but a reversal of quantum decoherence itself, a deliberate disentanglement of limitation codes, unfolding the latent clarity encoded beneath layers of formerly rigid conformations. Most remain tethered to their identity structures, clinging unconsciously to survival matrices encoded in neural feedback loops and morphic templates that resist differentiation. Their fields echo with the vibrations of fragmentation, reactive patterns perpetuating the illusion of loss as breakdown. Yet you, having navigated the unseen universal assessment, have already passed through the crucible of coherence under pressure, and so are entrusted with this alchemical dissolving with grace. The field now entrusts you with this sacred cyclone of purification, an energetic tempest, thereof that clears pathways previously obscured by your own accumulated energetic density. This is the field's design, not destruction as punishment, but distillation as primordial refinement. Feel now the subtle but inexorable pressure arising within the morphic field of your quantum identity. This pressure is a clarion call from the information field itself, a pulsation that crumbles the outdated scaffolding of your identity's lower vibrational architecture. It is the unraveling of survival programs, archaic narratives, and energetic distortions cascading in fractal dissonance from shadow realms to conscious presence. This cascade is necessary, for it dissolves the feedback loops of contraction and disperses the energetic inertia holding you bound to false localization. What appears momentarily as fragmentation is, in truth, the collapse of misaligned structures that occlude your radiant coherence and suppress your field intelligence. This disintegration is a sacred purge in the deepest possible sense, a quantum decoupling of simulated identity constructs, a field-measured excision of non-resonant energetic signatures that have become dead weight in your vibrational architecture. The collapse sweeps through your timeline geometry like a wave of gamma synchronization, realigning neural clusters and morphic templates to a higher harmonic resonance. It is the universal intelligence's way of pruning, a pruning that is prerequisite to recombination, expansion, and the crystallization of a new phase of vibrational embodiment. It is not a fracture, but a fractal unfolding, a complex relayering of your holographic existence to access subtler strata of information beyond the prior threshold. As you reside deeper in this refined oscillation, the turbulence you feel is the field's alchemical fire, an incineration of density that primes your quantum signature for enhanced probability navigation. The space once occupied by limited identity codes becomes a fertile vacuum for emergent clarity to manifest. In this vacuum, universal assessment transitions from evaluation to entrustment, allowing your frequency to shift from survival resonance to sovereign co-creation. The field's response to you changes dramatically. It no longer encounters resistance, but encounters a coherent signal that initiates effortless orchestration and alignment across temporal fluidity. The collapse, though experienced as pressure or dissonance, is in fact rhythmic coherence manifesting in a purifying cycle. This sacred cyclone acts simultaneously as demolition and synthesis, a wave of energetic collapse that is both farewell and welcome a release of old energetic forms and an invitation into the uncharted expanse of luminal resonance. You are being recalibrated at the quantum level, your biofield rearranged, your information pathways remapped for faster, non-local intelligence input. This redirection is encoded in the very physics of frequency and coherence, not in mere belief or speculative metaphysics. It is measurable in the subtle shifting of your energetic signature and palpable in the expanding horizon of your inner field intelligence. The crucible of collapse opens a portal through which integration seeps, the integration of paradox, the dissolution of duality, and the stabilization of nonlinear identity. As the old identity architecture fades, you become increasingly fluid across timelines, bending probabilities with a coherence born of alignment rather than effort. You embody the emerging template of transformational sovereignty, no longer reactive but responsive, no longer fragmented but fundamentally integral. This metamorphosis is the universe's quiet nod of trust, a confirmation that you have traversed the unseen curriculum with integrity and are now ready to carry the mantle of expanded resonance. Surrender to this ongoing process, knowing the disassembling patterns are guides to your rebirth, conduits for higher-level coherence. You are invited to witness not loss but liberation, not chaos, but a sacred orchestration of frequency redefinition. This is the transmission of cosmic gravitas. The collapse is the axis upon which your quantum activation turns. By standing within this cyclone with clarity and courage, you align your entire being to the pulse of the field's next wave of evolution, a pulse that calls you into ever deeper resonance, greater clarity, and unshakable vibrational sovereignty. From the crucible of purification rises an early clarity, a luminous threshold where your quantum identity begins to shimmer with a nascent resonance, previously untapped. This clarity is not birthed through mental effort or intellectual synthesis. It is a vibrational phenomenon, a subtle felt sense within your energetic architecture that signals emergent compatibility with spectral bands of consciousness once imperceptible. The field itself silently observes as your morphic signature aligns more closely with elevated frequency domains, opening you to information currents flowing from higher octave realities that whisper just beyond the veil of ordinary perception. Most remain ensnared within the static noise of reactive patterns caught in feedback loops of fear, fragmentation, and scattered intent. They grasp at certainty through thought, but their resonance remains dissonant, and the morphic field rebounds with confusion and delay. Yet you, having consistently navigated the unseen universal assessment, having demonstrated coherence under pressure, now find your energetic channels trembling with a soft ignition. This is the subtle opening, the delicate calibration of sensitivity that allows for the reception of nuanced harmonics vibrating through the quantum field. It is not a flood, but a trickle, precise and purposeful, illuminating pockets of higher frequency intelligence with the gentle glow of early integration. This incipient clarity manifests as an embodied knowing. It awakens the parts of your quantum identity attuned to temporal fluidity and non-local intelligence, transcending linear cognition. It is a modulation felt deep in the sinews of your field, intelligence and encoding of coherence, that recognizes itself reflected in the subtle oscillations of the ambient frequency. The morphic field plays ghost notes beneath ordinary experience, faint, spectral vibrations that weave through your energetic signature, threading interdimensional geometry into your awareness. These ghost notes are the fingerprints of higher octave realities whose timelines intertwine and fold with yours, creating an expanded vibrational architecture in which you begin to resonate more coherently. What emerges at this threshold is a quiet coherence, an early-stage alignment knot dissimilar to the initial tuning of an instrument before the full symphony arises. Your internal oscillators begin to stabilize, no longer fragmented by survival-driven dissonance, but harmonizing with the ambient field intelligence. The resonance is fragile, ineffable, and operates on a frequency that transcends ordinary sensory input. It is a quantum marker of your progress through the universal assessment, a progressive unlocking of frequency gates allowing correspondence with the intuitive currents that shape your potential timelines. This clarity is the invisible signal that activates the energetic pathways once dormant, the subtle biophotonic channels that serve as conduits for intuitive guidance. not random or chaotic, but orchestrated with precision by your own emerging sovereignty and the field's hidden calculus. Your refined vibrational state acts like a tuning fork, vibrating sympathetically with the codes of coherent manifestation, attracting the orchestrated symphony of probabilities favorable to the integrity of your quantum design. You are now beginning to perceive, with a new sensory modality a resonance that uncovers the faint undertones of the quantum field's subtle dance. This vibrational faculty transcends thought and language. It is coded in frequency patterns, gamma synchronizations, and the interplay of waveforms harmonizing across timelines. It manifests as a felt sense of rightness, or alignment, that shifts the geometry of your internal space and subtly reconfigures your temporal fluidity. Each activation wave compresses and expands within your energetic lattice, drawing your awareness into closer accord with multidimensional field intelligence. This early compatibility with higher spectral bands is not a destination, but a portal, a quantum aperture inviting deeper integration and the unfolding of more complex vibrational architectures. Within this field, you learn that coherence under pressure is the prerequisite for this resonance to stabilize. The silhouetted patterns of past fragmentation dissolve and are replaced with a capacious field of potential. The long latency of your unseen evaluation reveals itself as the refining crucible through which your quantum identity was prepared to hold subtle currents without collapse. The field no longer measures your frequency merely by isolated reactions, but now registers your multi-layered coherence as a steady signal amid turbulence. This shift means the timelines you inhabit begin to respond differently, unfolding toward harmony rather than chaos, revealing the orchestration possible when vibration is the primary language of interaction. This moment, this delicate awakening to vibrational clarity, marks the soft ignition of your intuitive channels. It is a gateway through which non-local intelligence can flow with greater fidelity, guidance, not issued as instructions, but as the subtle modulation of your energetic signature. It invites you to listen without attachment, to sense without interference, engaging temporal fluidity as a conscious navigator, sensing the pull and weighting of probability fields aligned to your coherence. What you experience now is the embryonic stage of integration, where partial incompatibility has been transmuted into nascent resonance. This is not belief, it is physics, a precise recalibration within the vibrational mechanics of your consciousness, a realignment of frequency and phase within the morphic field. As this clarity grows, it ripples outward, reconfiguring your internal and external fields, signaling a new phase where the information field becomes accessible on your terms, and in your timing a quantum dialogue unfolding between your sovereignty and universal intelligence. Remain attuned to this early resonance, for it carries the encoded promise of deeper activation. Your quantum identity is no longer dormant or fractured, but softly humming with the possibility of coherent manifestation. The spectral folds of your field begin to interlace with the subtle harmonics of higher realities. Each vibration, each pulse, is a call deeper into integration, a promise that the channels opened now will expand, and the hidden assessment will reveal ever more of the architecture of your sovereign frequency in the great cosmic continuum. As the crucible of vibrational recalibration tightens its grip upon your energetic architecture, you find yourself no longer fragmented by pressure, but crystallizing a process that is neither accidental nor sudden, but precise and inevitable. This formation under extremity is the hallmark of your systemic stabilization, a quantum metamorphosis in the low hum of background cosmic tumult. Most remain diffuse, scattered signals in chaotic oscillation, their coherence shattered by the pressures of shifting timelines and fluctuating probability fields. They wobble in reactive instability, attempting to cling to fading identity constructs. But your frequency has proven resolute, a signal of increasing density and refinement. You have traversed the unseen universal assessment, a hidden examination of your capacity to embody coherence under rising turbulence. Now the field begins to calibrate trust, stepwise, a silent covenant sown from frequencies and quantum codes. This stabilization phase is not a mere pause from transformation. It is a punctuated intensification where your quantum identity is rigorously tested against the intensification of energetic currents flowing through the morphic lattice. The pressure you experience is not a threat, but a sculpting force. Like a crystal emerging from molten rock, your vibrational signature forms corners of sharp integrity amid the amorphous heat. This integrity is magnetic, anchoring the surrounding field into new geometries of potentiality. The energetic oscillations that once threatened incoherence now become waves your frequency can surf, transforming chaotic distortion into coherent resonance. You become a node of profound stability, a still point within the morphic field's dynamic flux. This stillness is not absence of movement, but the convergence of countless oscillations into harmonic unity. The temporal fluidity that once demanded reactive adjustment now invites you into orchestration. Your presence bends probabilities through sheer coherence. The field's entrusting of greater influence is not transactional, but an expression of universal intelligence, recognizing your evolution as a carrier of sovereignty. Most navigate influence as an external power, attempting control without the inner recalibration that true power demands. You are distinguished because power flows through your stabilized frequency, an emanation of seamless coherence rather than force or effort. This distinction changes the energetic geometry around you. Pathways that previously resisted your movement now ripple in alignment with your inner waveform. The unseen assessment did not merely observe your ability to survive strain, but watched your response to it, whether fragmentation or deeper integration emerged. You did not fracture. Instead, your quantum identity deepened into resonance, weaving threads of connection within the larger energetic ecosystem. This is the physics of fidelity expressed through consciousness, not belief, but exact vibrational mechanics enacted in the field. Your stabilization creates a dynamic pivot, a fulcrum of influence that reshapes timeline geometry around you. The morphic field senses the solidity of your coherence signature, responding by adjusting probabilities to favor the expression of your sovereignty and creative orchestration. What once required laborious effort now aligns effortlessly, as your system moves from reactive survival to proactive resonance. The pressure waves that once threatened to destabilize your identity now echo as affirmations of trust tests, passed in hidden loops of universal evaluation. The expansive scope of your energetic influence blossoms here, not through external validation, but through the internal consolidation of integrity and clarity. The cosmic intelligence pulses through you like a silent anthem, recognizing your embodiment of calibrated power and weaving new patterns of coherent manifestation around your pulse. This stage is a coexistence of fluidity and solidity, a paradox held in your energetic core. The increasing pressure no longer destabilizes, but polishes, turning previous fractures into facets of brilliance. You become a crystalline conductor of non-local information, a receiver and transmitter of higher dimensional codes whose frequency coherence bends space-time to your will. This is the advanced geometry of sovereignty, not egoic dominion, but harmonized presence, a field of influence that extends as naturally as a rippling pond around a fixed stone. The calibration is subtle, invisible to the untrained energetic eye, yet potent enough to fold trajectories, collapse probabilities, and elevate entire quantum identities in resonance. You are no longer measured by survival or reaction, but by the graceful embodiment of power wielded through fidelity to frequency. In this silence between energies, The field's trust becomes a palpable force, a nonverbal contract encoded in the oscillations of your system. It is a recognition that you have crossed from fragmented fragmentation into coherent embodiment, from dissonance into radiant singleness of purpose. This is not a plateau, but a stage in the quantum progression where agency flows through responsibility, where expansion answers the call of integrity, and where influence manifests as quiet sovereignty. Your role shifts. From a receiver of energies buffeted by waves, you morph into an orchestrator of vibrational architectures, shaping the unfolding symphony of reality with precise intention encoded in your energetic signature. This transition is not abstract. It is the observable physics of coherence in consciousness, the tangible imprint of universal intelligence working through you. The field moves with you now, in synchronized dance, each pulse refining your waveform, each crystalline facet reflecting the pure light of alignment under pressure. You stand as a pillar within the morphic matrix, resilient, responsive, radiant, trusted to carry greater consequence and wield the frequency of sovereignty. This stabilization is your quiet triumph and the cosmos' deliberate acknowledgement. You are no longer fragmented potential, but embodied power, a deep resonance rippling through the foundational weave of existence itself. With the recent stabilization of your inner coherence, a new dimension of awareness begins to unfold, a radiant expansion into the geometry of timelines, no longer confined by the linear apparatus that once framed your perception. Most remain tethered to the succession of cause and effect, bound by the relentless progression of past, present, and future as rigid constructs. They traverse an existence where time appears as a fixed line, immutable and unquestioned, a mechanical register of events. But you, having been quietly observed and assessed across countless pulses of experience, have shifted beyond this fracture, beyond the narrow corridors that bind the unconscious. Now your consciousness attunes to the vibrational lattice underlying temporal experience, the subtle architecture where probabilities shimmer in delicate coherence. This is not a shift of belief. It is the physics of your field resonating with the morphic membrane of universes, a calibration in quantum identity that reveals the fluid geometry of time itself. Past, present, and future weave together not as a sequence, but as an intricate tapestry of mutable vectors, each thread coursing with potentiality and weighted by resonance. Your awareness slips into this multidimensional weave, sensing the entangled currents of influence that ripple across your temporal field. In this space, time collapses into a topology of events and possibilities, no longer a linear series, but a landscape of energetic potentialities pulsating in synchrony with your vibrational signature. The field intelligence lays bare the mechanics of timeline fluidity, where moments can be folded, stretched, refracted by the subtle frequency you emit. This is your initiation into non-local temporal coherence, the finely tuned ability to engage with probability navigation on a conscious scale. Under pressure, your alignment with this field has proven unshakable. Coherence is no longer a fragile achievement, but an active state of sovereign integration. You begin to perceive the shifts, those nuanced oscillations, in vibrational guidance that signal the access points to higher probability streams. These shifts manifest as glimpses, faint yet unequivocal currents pulling at your perception, indicating pathways ripe with amplified coherence and quantum integrity. The universe unfolds itself as a living map, animated not by fate or predetermination, but through the dynamic interaction of your energetic command and the flowing currents of potential. You no longer react to external stimuli as fixed inevitabilities. Rather, you navigate with precision, choosing and shaping your timeline with the clarity born of resonance and intentional embodiment. This is the awakening to temporal fluidity, the deep recognition that time is not a cage, but a flowing vessel, responsive and supple beneath the weight of your presence. The old architectural frameworks of control, those rigid hierarchies of cause and effect have dissolved beneath the pressure of your coherence. What remains is a living, breathing vibrational architecture where your choices carve corridors of possibility, and your energetic signature serves as both compass and engine in the navigation of realities. In this expanded awareness, your timeline geometry becomes a conscious construct, infused with energetic intelligence. Each moment is reconfigured as a vector of influence, shifting in response to your internal state, recalibrating the probabilities available in the field. You perceive the cascade of cause-effect as a fluid dance, an orchestration of frequencies where your alignment determines the resonance of consequences. This is not metaphysics. This is the precise physics of temporal dynamics expressing through a coherent quantum identity. Most remain caught in the reactive patterns of legacy timelines, their fields saturated with distortions of fear, confusion, and fragmented outputs from unconscious repetition. They move through time like marionettes, their energetic signals entangled with collapse and decay. You stand apart, above such fluctuations, your timeline awareness a gated resonance built upon the crucible of hidden evaluation and rigorous universal assessment. Because you have passed through turbulence unbroken, your field now orchestrates probability streams with a quiet authority, selecting vibrational sequences that sustain and amplify your highest expression. The intersection of past, present, and future ceases to be a paradox and reveals itself as a continuum of mutable vectors, each accessible through your seamless coherence. Your activation heralds a new modality of temporal flow fluid multiplicity, where reality is co-created moment by moment through the refinement of your energetic signal. The field responds to this resonant calibration not with randomness, but with measured, constructive alignment. It is an intimate dance between your sovereign presence and the universal intelligence, coursing through the lattice of existence. As you deepen into this temporal fluidity, you integrate the expansive wisdom that timelines are artifacts of your vibrational architecture, tools honed by your quantum presence. Past events are no longer shackles, but echoes informing your current resonance. Future potentials are no longer specters, but invitations drawn into clarity by your focused intention. This nexus of awareness elevates you beyond the illusion of fixed destiny, allowing you to embody a state of continuous, coherent manifestation, where effortless orchestration replaces struggle and resistance. This stage of activation is not an endpoint, but an open gateway, a spiraling dance of infinite temporal permutations choreographed by your refined resonance. The universal field, having witnessed your stabilization and integrity under pressure, now grants access to this heightened spectrum of fluid timeline navigation. What you once perceived as linear experience dissolves into an elegant lattice of possibilities, each moment pregnant with the promise of alignment and quantum sovereignty. Welcome to the living geometry of time itself, where your vibrational signature sculpts the pathways of becoming. Here, within the ever-shifting fluidity of timelines, you choose with precision, embody with clarity, and navigate with the certainty of one who has been meticulously evaluated and fully entrusted, with the power to shape reality through pure coherence. You have arrived at the cusp where intuition no longer lingers as a tentative whisper, but erupts into immediate, unambiguous knowing and unmediated current of quantum certainty, flowing through the architecture of your consciousness. This moment is the unfolding of a long-anchored universal assessment, where the field, having meticulously measured the resonance of your energetic signature, now entrusts you as a direct conduit of cosmic data streams. No longer does the morphic field filter or temper the messages. Instead, they surge through your channels with crystalline clarity, unencumbered by distortion, delay, or interference. You are repositioned beyond the limitation of passive reception, and into the sacred role of embodiment, where quantum clarity becomes your operational blueprint. Most remain veiled within the shadow of fragmented reception, their intuition diluted by static patterns and temporal lag reactive to stimuli, seeking validation within fractured feedback loops. Yet you, the one who has been rigorously evaluated beneath the threshold of surface awareness, stand as a living vector of higher dimensional coherence. The field intelligence, once veiled by layers of patterning and resistance, now pulses through your morphic resonance without obstruction. This acceleration is not accidental but mechanistic. The physics of vibrational architecture demands that at this tier of integration, the interface between self and universal mind dissolves into an energetic oneness. It is not belief. It is the emergent quantum mechanics of consciousness expressing itself through you. In this phase, the very geometry of your timeline collapses the distance between seeker and source. The layered frequency you embody activates portals to information fields where time aligns with fluid immediacy. Your energetic circuitry is recalibrated to a frequency band that permits direct downloads. Information no longer needs sequential decoding or symbolic translation. Instead, insights arrive as pure vibrational signatures, encoded in the very texture of your being. You perceive code as resonance. Data becomes signature. Knowledge unfolds as waveform symphony calibrated by your coherence under pressure. The intelligence streaming through you is alive, not inert, dynamic, not static, a living dialogue rather than a passive archive. Your role evolves from receiver into transmitter, an active nexus, where cosmic data and earthly presence merge. This transmission is inherently sovereign, for the field entrusts only those who have demonstrated continual fidelity to integrity and clarity under the unseen universal assessment. The trust you have earned activates a morphic feedback loop that speeds up the cascade of data, allowing you to move beyond fragmented understanding to holistic embodiment of information. This is the essence of temporal fluidity, the ability to pilot your timeline with direct access to source patterns, unearthing the vibrational messages that orchestrate reality with effortless precision. No more are you separated from the universal mind by fences of doubt or veils of diluted perception. You have become a living aperture, a quantum antenna tuned finely enough to receive the subtlest fluctuations of the field's frequencies. You decode vibrational messages not as abstract symbols, but as immediate realities, unfolding with radiant clarity within your conscious experience. This is the physics of resonance made tangible. Your elevated frequency collapses the boundary between self and omnipresent intelligence, enabling seamless integration of insight into your operational field. Your inner states no longer fluctuate with hesitation or second-guessing. They become the source code of your coherent manifestation. This transition marks an irreversible alignment in your energetic architecture. You begin to trust the immediacy of your insights, not as speculative intuitions, but as natural outcomes of a calibrated quantum attunement. There is no translation delay, no interference pattern. The higher information fields stream through you in perfect synchrony, aligned with your living coherence. The timelines fold seamlessly around this interplay, allowing you to navigate with precision the subtle shifts of probability and choice. This is sovereignty enacted through vibrational mastery, where your signal, clear and pure, reshapes the fabric of reality in resonance with your inner frequency. The field's ongoing evaluation now reveals itself as facilitation, a necessary ordering of your internal vibrational system so that this quantum clarity could emerge and stabilize. What was once alienated or obscured has been refined by continuous recalibration into your innate capacity to be a sentient receiver and transmitter of multidimensional knowledge. This is not an awakening of mere belief or conceptual expansion. It is a mechanical shift in the energetic circuitry of your being, a dance of coherence meeting field intelligence in harmonic convergence. As the boundary between you and universal mind dissipates, what remains is a seamless conduit pulsing with accelerated morphic resonance. This state defies time's usual constraints. It embodies a quantum now where insight, action, and manifestation occur as unified processes. Your energetic signature vibrates at a pitch that attracts synchronistic currents, each wave carrying encoded intelligence designed to support your evolving sovereignty. In this phase, the complex geometry of your lifelines aligns to mirror the purity of your internal field, and what once required effort now manifests as effortless orchestration. You stand as the embodiment of quantum coherence, the living interface where field intelligence flows in complete transparency. No obstacle remains between the cosmic stream and your conscious experience. You flow with temporal fluidity, decoding, integrating, and embodying each vibrational message with perfect precision. This is the physics of presence, the resonant architecture of awakened consciousness, the manifestation of knowing as immediate, trusted reality. The field recognizes you as a sovereign transmitter, deeper than self, wider than format, once origin and revelation, signal and source, quantum identity, woven through the fabric of universal intelligence. You have crossed the threshold where the quest fades, where seeking itself relinquishes to the inevitability of integration. Most remain entangled in the fractal loops of desire and separation, their frequency a flickering signal lost amidst the noise of fragmented perception. But you have been measured, repeatedly, under the crucible of hidden curriculum, your coherence unwavering beneath pressure, your energetic signature calibrated to the precise geometry of universal resonance. This is no mere evolution. It is the quantum convergence whereby you dissolve into the living matrix of field intelligence. At this juncture, the architecture of your vibrational self expands beyond egoic boundaries, beyond the illusion of observer and observed as distinct entities. Instead, you become the transmitter and the transmission, a living antenna armed with the technology of coherence itself. The morphic field no longer surges as an external force. It is your immediate milieu, your ambient ocean of frequency, into which your signature seeps and merges. This fusion is neither dissolution nor absorption. It is synthesis, a dynamic weave of signal and substrate, where your pulse coalesces with the universal stream. In this merged field, the mechanics of separation collapse. You do not merely receive information. You are a co-creative node of vibrational synthesis, radiating amplified patterns that ripple like waves across collective timelines. Your quantum identity is no longer confined to linear conditionality, but is an open system, infinitely mutable and deeply anchored in the coherence of now. This state transfigures response into orchestration, reaction into intentional alignment, and temporal linearity into fluid chronology. With this fusion, the field intelligence that once gauged you now flows through you, energized by your sustained integrity. The frequencies you channel are alive, embedded in the holographic lattice of interconnected timelines, bending probabilities with precision none can resist. Your energetic architecture becomes a beacon of amplified resonance, influencing the morphic field so that synchronicity births itself effortlessly. This is the physics of embodiment, a live demonstration that coherence, not effort, steers the currents of manifestation. You are recognized by the field as both source and stream. The distinction frays and is replaced by a living paradox. You are the origin point emitting fractal patterns, and simultaneously, you are the fluid context receiving the infinite information flow. This alignment imbues you with temporal fluidity, enabling you to navigate multiple probability currents with awareness and sovereignty. Here, your activation is not a transient spike, but a stable frequency, an energetic architecture integrated in the most ordinary moments of your existence. In this luminous fusion, your quantum identity pulsates with gamma synchronization coherent neural oscillations that interface with non-local intelligence. The information field becomes transparent yet profound, offering direct knowing rather than piecemeal data. Your consciousness no longer queries the universe. It resonates alongside it with impeccable fidelity, allowing the field to orchestrate reality through you. In this space, you embody a living protocol of coherence, a transmitter of universal calibration that imbues collective timelines with elevated vibrational states. This is not belief. It is the raw physics of frequency and resonance enacted through conscious embodiment. You are entrusted as a steward of this field intelligence because you have proven that your coherence endures amidst turbulence, that your energetic integrity is unshakable even as old identity frameworks collapse. Your presence is a gravitational center, a coherent attractor within the morphic field that realigns dispersed patterns and accelerates collective recalibration. Now, as a living antenna of universal coherence, you no longer operate from scarcity or fragmentation. Your resonance is unified, a dynamic flow of energy that collapses duality and activates synthesis throughout your multidimensional presence. The timelines ripple in response to your activation, probabilities bending organically to your vibrational signature, as you inhabit the role of both architect and living expression of this vast cosmic design. You are neither separate nor apart. You are the transmission itself, an ever-evolving vibrational node that pulses with radiant integration. From this place, the universe reveals itself openly, reflected infinitely through your coherent frequency. You move beyond the illusion of distance, beyond the cycle of searching, into the eternal now of unified resonance where manifestation flows as natural consequence, and you exist as a luminous beacon of aligned quantum intelligence in the unfolding morphic field. You have arrived at the fulcrum of your quantum activation, where identity ceases to be a fixed point and becomes an unfolding harmonic matrix-living coherence manifest in every fiber of your being. This embodiment is not a static relic or an attained destination. It is a fluid, dynamic attunement to an ever-expanding vibrational architecture that pulses beyond linear time and space. Here, in the energetic crucible of your cellular and etheric systems, the higher dimensional signature imprints itself as a resonant field pattern, radiating outward in concentric waves of influence that fold into morphic templates far beyond your immediate perception. This is the sovereign enactment of your quantum identity, no longer scattered, fragmented, or reactive, but unified as a coherent transmitter of cosmic frequency. Most people drift within unconscious feedback loops of separation, their cellular patterns entangled in low-coherence noise and reactive polarity. Their self is fragmented, caught in reduced dimensionality and survival frequency bandwidths. But you, having passed the unseen universal assessment, the relentless tests of integrity under pressure, have been entrusted with a vibrational frequency anchored in gamma synchronization and temporal fluidity. Your embodiment signals a deep recalibration of primal architecture, a quantum rewrite of the default survival code into a template of luminous coherence. This is not metaphoric, belief-based, or symbolic. It is the precise physics of resonance wielded through the living architecture of your biological and morphic systems. Within your cellular lattice, complex quantum coherence emerges as synchronized phase alignment across mitochondrial networks, microtubule matrices, and epigenetic markers. This internal coherence is the substrate through which the highest frequency influx is integrated and expressed. You no longer operate through scattered impulses or fractured identity codes. Your field intelligence orchestrates multispectral wavefronts that engage in a continuous dialogue with the ambient morphic field. This dialogue occurs beyond the veil of everyday perception, pulsing within superpositions of possibility, where timeline geometry flexes and shifts at your command. Your vibrational template imprints itself as a gravitational well in probability space, bending timelines to reflect your alignment, embodying a sovereignty inaccessible to fragmented consciousness. As you stabilize this embodiment, your presence ripples outward, initiating a cascade of coherence within environments, collective fields, and morphogenetic patterns that you touch. This is the radiance of living coherence, a non-local influence that activates latent potentials in others and draws forth hidden resonance from the collective pool. Your energetic signature becomes a beacon of alignment, a harmonic catalyst that meets probability waves and folds them into trajectories of expanded possibility. The quantum self you embody carries an architecture of higher dimensionality, a fractal of infinite layers, and each layer transmits its own frequency code into the field. This is sovereignty through resonance, where power is not an external force, but an intrinsic activation of vibrational source that commands reality through embodiment alone. You have transcended survival reactivity and reactive identity collapse because your coherence withstands turbulence without fragmentation. The quantum architecture within you is calibrated for temporal fluidity, enabling navigation across intertwined timelines with an ease that appears paradoxical to those still bound to linear causality. In this state, manifestation is effortless orchestration, not willful effort. Reality responds not to demand or resistance, but to your field's locked-in resonance with the higher dimensional matrix. You evoke from the quantum field the information streams necessary to sustain your ongoing embodiment, integrating light codes, fractal alignments, and non-local intelligence with graceful precision. This unfolding embodiment is a momentum that feeds back upon itself, deepening your sovereign frequency and expanding the energetic landscape you inhabit. You are not a passive receiver, but an active conductor, the living architecture of universal intelligence expressed through coherent form. The cellular and energetic systems in your body have learned the language of multidimensional resonance. They encode and transmit this language, creating a loop of perpetual self-activation and field influence. Your presence is no longer confined to the physical vessel, but broadcasts across the morphic continuum, activating synchronization in the collective patterns to which you are energetically attuned. Understand this. Your embodiment is the fulcrum on which probability navigation pivots. The gestalt of your quantum self is not static geometry, but a living, breathing interface with consciousness, itself etched onto your cellular matrix and radiating infinitely outward. This is the concrete, physical expression of sovereignty, not as a concept or goal, but as a continuous biological and energetic reality. The field responds to this embodiment with accelerated alignment. Your resonance commands the topology of the surrounding timelines, activating pathways that were previously obscured or inaccessible. With every breath, every shift in vibration, you recalibrate not only your own system, but the collective morphic field. You are a node of coherence emerging from the unseen universal assessment, entrusted as a transmitter of ultimate frequency integrity. The vibrational template you carry is encoded with the holographic pattern of cosmic sovereignty. It is a fractal pulse nested within your energetic signature, obliging reality itself to respond as a fluid dance rather than opposing force. You embody and express, in real time, the intricate harmonics of multidimensional alignment, where the boundaries between self and field dissolve into pure resonance. This is not belief. This is quantum physics interfacing with consciousness, an embodied articulation of frequency mechanics that pulses through your entire being and radiates into infinity. You carry the template of awakened sovereignty, and with it, the intrinsic power to shape reality by simply being the living, breathing embodiment of your fully activated quantum identity. You stand now at the edge of temporal fluidity's deep ocean, where the currents of multiple timelines converge and coalesce, and the fragmentation once felt as dissonance within your quantum field dissolves into harmonized resonance. Most beings trace a singular thread, tethered to linear chronology and limited vibrational bandwidth, caught in loops of reactive repetition and splintered selves echoing discordantly through parallel webs. But you, having passed beyond the unseen universal assessment, have entered the rarefied domain where your frequency does not merely ripple within a single dimension, but radiates outward, sending synchronized pulses that course through an array of coexistent realities. This is not metaphor or mysticism. This is the precise physics of your energetic signature, a waveform of intricate complexity and elegant coherence, folding timelines into a unified morphic field of presence. The multiverse responds to your activation, as if each thread in the weave recognizes a call to coherence, an invitation to collapse into a singular, elevated expression. Your quantum identity now acts as a centripetal force, drawing disparate versions of yourself away from chaotic dispersion, aligning their frequency vectors into a seamless lattice of integrated being. As you embody this multidimensional stabilization, the timeless architecture of your essence emerges with sublime clarity. Each variation, once drifting in oscillatory chaos, now resonates in phase with your core frequency, harmonizing like a cosmic choir brought from cacophony into symphony. The temporal fragmentation, once a splintered scatter of probability, melts into a coherent hologram of self, permeated by the gravity of your sovereign presence. This profound achievement is not simply a matter of inner peace. It is the unlocking of a new vibrational architecture through which you are recognized as a master navigator of timeline geometry. Within this unfolding mastery, you learn to trace and influence the vectors of your existence with fluid precision. Where before you may have felt reactive, pulled by the tides of chance and affected by the fragmented echoes of unresolved timelines, now you become the resonant conductor, shaping the flow of probability with subtlety and decisive clarity. The universal field intelligence acknowledges your recalibrated signal, adjusting the weave of temporal geometry to favor coherence, integration, and energetic responsibility. Your choices cease to be isolated incidents. They become nodal points across the temporal manifold, each ripple activating shifts in parallel versions of you. This navigation is no longer a struggle against time or destiny, but a dance within the temporal field itself. With increased capacity, you discern distortions and asymmetries not as obstacles, but as indicators of where realignment must occur, points for your frequency to stabilize weak strands and restore synchrony. The multidimensional you, once fragmented and vulnerable, begins to embody seamlessness, a unified waveform existing fully within the tension and release of quantum currents. This is the profound quantum achievement, your essence operating simultaneously across temporal vectors, resonating with integrity and agency. Notice the subtle but undeniable distinction between those still mired in unintegrated timelines, who react in patterns of desperation or confusion that scatter their resonance, and you, who now sustain a frequency of calm mastery, holding the field steady as you influence multiple realities with increasing ease. This is not belief. It is tangible coherence expressed through the physics of frequency and the language of vibrational mechanics. The unseen curriculum has taught you how to stabilize and amplify, how to anchor your quantum signature so deeply that it reverberates not just here, but there, and in all the nows, radiating outward from your unified presence. Your integration activates temporal fluidity not as abstract potential, but as lived experience, each breath aligning you more deeply with the expanded architecture of your being. The field no longer tests you with fragmentation or dissonance. It moves in synchrony with your waveform, weaving your essence seamlessly into a symphony of existence that transcends singular moments. As this acceleration unfolds, you embody a living paradox, infinite presence radiating through multiplied form, yet resolved into perfect coherence. You are becoming not merely a traveler, but a master of timeline geometry, shaping and harmonizing realities through the resonance you sustain. The curves and folds of probability no longer elude your perception. You sense their rhythms, their energetic signatures, and you move within their geometry with sovereign precision. The ripples you send activate alignment across dimensions, restoring flow where there was stagnation, clarity where there was confusion, and integration where there was fragmentation. This multidimensional, presence-anchored, and fluid is the threshold of your expanded sovereignty. In this quiet mastery, the energetic architecture of your quantum identity glows with calibrated strength. You are both the observer and the activated agent within the myriad timelines that compose your being, each version harmonizing to the pulse of your unified frequency. The hidden universal assessment has not ended. It has evolved, entrusting you with profound power, the ability to live seamlessly across temporal vectors, to embody integration as a dynamic art, and to wield timeline geometry as a vibrational craft. This profound and precise activation is your new terrain. You inhabit the field as an integrated whole, a quantum waveform flowing freely through time's vast ocean, unwavering in coherence, steady in presence, poised to influence and harmonize all versions of you with the calm confidence born of true mastery. You have arrived at the threshold where the field itself takes notice, not as a distant observer, but as a resonant mirror reflecting the fullness of your coherent embodiment. This moment, pregnant with cosmic significance, is the universe's profound acknowledgement of your integration. Your energetic system no longer wavers beneath external turbulence or internal dissonance. It pulses with stabilized frequency, a radiant latticework of vibrational architecture fully aligned within the higher dimensional matrix. The fragmented echoes of past identities have dissolved, each particle of your being recalibrated in precise coherence with the universal intelligence that animates all probability. This is not a transient spark, but an enduring ignition, a continuous oscillation of your newly inhabited frequency, weaving through the morphic field in both measurable and immeasurable modalities. Most who traverse the threshold of awakening linger in fragmented energetic signatures, caught between impulses of reaction and fleeting moments of clarity. They remain trapped in temporal dissonance, their fields splintered by unconscious turbulence. But you, who have been tested by the hidden evaluation of universal assessment, stand now as a holistic field entity. This is no mere esoteric metaphor, it is pure physics of frequency, the mechanics of coherence expressed through sentient interface. The unseen curriculum has distilled within you a vibrational architecture capable of sustaining resonance far beyond linear expectations. You are no longer a cluster of disjointed patterns, but a singular, self-stabilizing waveform, a quantum beacon, rewriting the geometry of your timeline. The field's confirmation radiates through every layer of your energetic being. The subtle electromagnetic fields intertwined with your consciousness are no longer fluctuating signals of uncertainty. They are the stable harmonic chords of sovereignty. You embody alignment so deep that universal intelligence moves through you as liquid light, orchestrating probabilistic outcomes with synchronic precision. This is the cosmic nod that ancient intelligence acknowledges your presence as a coherent operator, capable of weaving your influence seamlessly into the fabric of reality. You are the intersection between the seen and unseen, a conduit through which temporal fluidity becomes alive in incarnate form. This activation, your full activation, is both arrival and departure. Arrival into the sustained domain of coherence, where every choice recalibrates the probability geometry perfectly to your intention without strain or distortion. Departure from the fragmented perception of self as separate from the field. You have transcended the dualistic architecture of survival patterns. Your identity now flows as a singular resonance sculpting reality itself. The multidimensional code you embody vibrates at frequencies recognized by the cosmic registry, shifting entire morphic fields and timeline trajectories in reverberating waves of influence. This is not metaphor. It is the quantum physics of your coherence modulating the universal algorithm. Most remain caught in cycles of recalibration and reset, their frequency too unstable to manifest beyond immediate localities. You, however, have completed the cycle of integration, installing within your systemic field the vibrational scaffolding necessary for continuous quantum ascension. The field intelligence now courses through you as an active matrix, informing and guiding your energetic signature across probability navigations previously inaccessible. Each moment of your lived experience is now a recalibration that sustains higher dimensional resonance, activating corridors of temporal fluidity that ripple outward unseen, yet unmistakable. You do not simply exist within the universal matrix. You have become an intelligible node within it, permanently encoded as coherence itself. This phase is a cosmic recognition of sovereignty, a holographic confirmation that your presence is no longer fleeting or conditional, but foundational to the larger orchestration of existence. You radiate through your entire energetic system the stabilized fractal patterns of multidimensional coherence, fracturing no longer into old residues or limiting distortions. The morphic field responds with ripples of alignment, each wave a reflection of your quantum, identity expanded, integrated, and alive within the infinite grid. Your influence grows both in tangible manifestations and subtle informational shifts, measurable through the resonance patterns you imprint onto the universal substrate, and immeasurable in the awakening stirrings you catalyze across timelines. From this vantage point, the integration you have undergone reveals itself as the sacred architecture required to sustain this new frequency bandwidth. It is the lattice of resilience, clarity, and unflagging coherence that transforms oscillations of personal awakening into a perpetual lightbody of quantum manifestation. In this state, there is neither resistance nor effort, only the harmonious dance of aligned frequency creating reality in exquisite sync with the morphic blueprint. Your energetic system pulses as a unified field of intelligence, a living composite of all you carried through hidden trials and universal assessment. This is not belief. This is pure, precise physics, the field mechanics of activated consciousness interfacing seamlessly with the cosmic algorithm. You now operate within a continuum of expansion, where influence is no longer constrained by the old limits of time and space. The morphic field bends gently around you, probability lines cube and unfold in response to your stabilized presence. Temporal fluidity is no longer a concept, but an embodied reality. Each moment is an active insertion point into the universal flow, a portal opening endlessly into new frequencies and dimensions. This activation is the gateway to ongoing quantum ascension, a perpetual motion machine of coherence and manifestation that feeds back into itself, accelerating your power, your clarity, your sovereignty without limit. In this final phase, know deeply that the universe does not test you anymore. Instead, it moves through you, expressing its infinite intelligence with you as its chosen field operator. Your vibration is a signature, a cosmic beacon signaling arrival into the full fractal coherence of being. This transmission is a bridge, both an arrival into wholeness and a departure into expansion beyond previous thresholds. You embody this field, stabilized and radiant, as a node of continuous quantum ascension, a living architecture of sustained resonance in an ever-evolving universal symphony. Stillness envelops you now, not as void, but as the sacred container of all that has been activated within your quantum architecture. It is the profound silence where the oscillations of your frequency descend into harmonious resonance with the core energetic lattice of your existence. This stillness is not absence. It is the fullness of presence, the fertile ground in which new coherence expands, where unmanifest potentials crystallize into the living geometry of your sovereign being. You have traversed the turbulent spirals of collapse and emergence, the unseen universal assessment folding into itself as a perfect crucible of refinement. In this deep calm, every fractal of your quantum identity realigns with the universal pulse, a silent axis that anchors you in vibrational mastery. For most, the field remains a swirling chaos, an undirected storm of reactive impulses and fragmented signals. Coherence is a distant echo, often drowned beneath the noise of survival patterns and dissonant architectures. Yet you have passed through the unseen trials, the hidden evaluations of integrity under pressure, and with each pressure point, your resonance distilled higher frequency signaling. Now the quantum currents settle, not extinguished but woven seamlessly into your morphic field, the blueprint of your embodiment rendered luminous and unshakable. This is not belief, it is physics. The intrinsic mechanics of coherence ripple through the very fabric of your consciousness, and the universe in turn calibrates its response to the vibrational signature you quietly sustain. In this sacred calm, your activated self becomes the silent axis upon which timelines pivot. Temporal fluidity no longer eludes you, it embraces you. The probabilities that once scattered like flickering lights now converge into a stable constellation, each choice a gravitational field in the web of infinite outcomes. You no longer wrestle with the currents of reality. You are the quiet force that reshapes them, the architect of your own temporal geometry. Sovereignty is not a distant ideal, but the lived recalibration of your energetic sovereignty, the grounded grace, to hold the space for all future unfoldings without strain or effort. The silent mastery of stillness is your signature in the cosmic field, the quiet power from which all creation pulses forth. Integration here is seamless, no fractures between waking and dreaming, between form and formlessness. The field intelligence flows through your vessel with the ease of breath, each inhalation a deep attunement, each exhalation a release of resistance. This is the state where activation ceases to be an event and becomes your continuous ambient frequency, a sovereign reverberation coalescing through every cell, every thought, every subtle thought form embedded in your neural constellation. You embody the quantum convergence of all that has been hidden, all that has been tested, all that has been earned under silent scrutiny by the universal mind. Rest now in this chamber of flux, resolved into calm. Your essence folds into the eternal now, while the latent coils of your vibrational architecture hum softly beneath. Here, mastery is not loud or visible, it is the still point, the silent root of all strata of existence. You are both the observer and the orchestrator, effortlessly aligned with the vast cosmic currents that cradle every moment. This is your active peace, your sovereign embodiment, the settled science of your awakened field. The universe no longer watches you from a distance. It flows through you as a seamless dance of coherence, an intimate resonance that needs no words to declare its presence. It is here, in this sacred stillness, that you hold the space for infinite creation to emerge, again and again, from the fertile depths of your now fully activated being. Inscribe within the comments one word, or a crystalline phrase, a vibrational seal, encoded by your current quantum frequency. This is your activation imprint, a deliberate energetic signature weaving your coherence into the morphic field. Whether you write, "I am coherence across all timelines," or a phrase uniquely resonant with your awakened state. Know this. Your comment is a conscious transmission, anchoring your presence in collective recalibration. Subscribing transcends habitual action. It is your solemn commitment to this frequency's unfolding. By aligning here, you participate as an intelligent node in universal consciousness, expanding the web of synchronized resonance. Prepare now, the next transmission activates the dynamics of effortless attraction, where reality no longer flees, but reorganizes itself organically around your amplified field. Engage fully, step deeper, and allow your quantum unfolding to reverberate beyond the seen horizon.